All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. After last year's surprise trip to the playoffs, the New York football Giants came into this season looking to build off of that. And even though that MetLife Stadium was filled with excitement last night as the Giants were set to host the Dallas Cowboys, that mood was soon replaced by frustration and despair as the home team received a harsh reality check from the visitors from North Texas. Now, the Giants marched down the field on the opening drive of the game, looking to take an early lead on Dallas. But instead of getting some points, the Giants were all quickly found out that they were not going to be prepared for the barrage that was going to come. We saw Dallas block Graham Gano's field goal, and it was recovered by Noah Igbegnogene. Excuse me. Hopefully, I got that right. Who returned it 58 yards for the score. And then later on in the first quarter, Deron Bland would pick off a pass from Daniel Jones that went through the hands of Giants running back Saquon Barkley, and he returned it for a 22-yard score to give Dallas the 16 to nothing lead. And at that point, the Cowboys were on cruise control. By the half, the Giants found themselves in a 26 to nothing hole as the contest last night had a feel from New York's season opener back in 1995 when they lost to the Dallas Cowboys 35 to nothing. But even though that we saw the Giants accomplish some good things last year, as they went to the playoffs, they won a playoff game, all of that good stuff. They clearly still have plenty of work ahead of them if they're going to take the next step. And I say that because you look at this Giants team, they went 9-8-1 in the regular season last year, or pardon me, 9-7-1 rather in the regular season. And then, of course, they won a playoff game against the Vikings, lost against the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, of those losses, of the 8 losses that the Giants had last year, 5 of those, a combined 5, came against these Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. And of course, 3 by the Eagles once you factor in them beating the Giants in the divisional round. And it's important. And I think last night was important for the Giants to come out and make a statement from the standpoint to say, hey, you know what? We've closed this gap. We can dance with you guys. But it's clear that the Giants have not closed that gap on Dallas. And for my money, I think Philly's a little bit ahead of Dallas. So if the Giants haven't closed the gap on Dallas, they darn sure have not closed the gap on the Eagles last year. And you look at it, this season has begun for the Giants in the same fashion that last year ended. They got blown out in the divisional round at the hands of the Eagles, and now they got blown out to begin this season at the hands of the Dallas Cowboys. You look at it last night, and if you watch that game, it looked like the Giants were playing on rookie mode while the Cowboys were playing on all Madden. That's basically the best way to sum it up. I mean, you look at this Dallas defense, and of course, the question is going to be how good can they be? This Dallas defense was good last year. They've obviously gotten better once you bring in the likes of a veteran corner such as Stephon Gilmore. And now you have a scenario where they're going to be able to tee off on other teams. The biggest question for the Cowboys is still going to be the offense. We still didn't see those questions get answered last night because Dak Prescott, the Cowboys quarterback, really didn't have to do anything because guess what? His defense and his special teams picked up the slack. But at the end of the day, as talented as you are defensively, if your quarterback still can't get it done for you in those key moments, it's going to amount all of your effort it is, at least on defense, is not going to amount to that much. And we saw that Cowboys defense in full effect last night. Daniel Jones, the Giants starting quarterback, was 15 of 27 passing for a buck 04, no touchdowns, of course, 2 interceptions, and he was sacked 7 times. And of course, people are going to pile on Daniel Jones, and I get it. But all of it's not his fault. The offensive line for the Giants still has some questions, but I will give them the benefit of the doubt from the standpoint that guess what? This arguably might be the best defense that the Giants face all season. So obviously there are questions on the offensive line that the Giants still need to take care of. I get it. but let's see if they can make some adjustments going forward. As a team, if you're the Giants, you definitely want to put last night's loss behind them because you can't put it on one guy. They all played bad, and Dallas was and is simply a better team. When you fall behind like that against that defense, it makes it tough because I know that people want to believe in Daniel Jones, and I'm not trying to sit up here and slight the young man. But the thing is, he needs the Giants running game to be effective. He needs that offensive line to be effective in front of him in order to give him the time. And obviously, that was not the case last night. Now, going forward, obviously, the Giants have to find a way to get back on track or get on track. And I'll say it like this: you lose 40 to nothing in your season opener. There's only one way for you to go, and that's up. So there's two schools of thought that you can come from this if you're the Giants and head coach Brian Daboll. Either you use this as motivation for your team, you light a fire, try to light a fire under them, or you know what, you just scrap that game plan altogether and just go out there and try to make adjustments for your next game against Arizona. I think to a man, I think Brian Daboll will have his team ready to play next Sunday when the Giants play the Arizona Cardinals. But what they have to do, they've got to get back to what they did last year, which was effective, which was running the football, the offensive line dictating things, and not just running the football, giving the ball to Saquon Barkley, setting up things for Daniel Jones to be a runner, setting up things as well as in the pass game. And then this defense has to get back to attacking and free flowing all over the place. I think they definitely have an opportunity, to do that next week against the Cardinals. The Cardinals definitely are not as talented as the Dallas Cowboys, especially without the services of quarterback Kyler Murray. But at the end of the day, if you're the Giants, you still can't take the Cardinals for granted because guess what? Like you, they lost yesterday as well. You got 16 teams that began this season or that are going to begin this season with a record of 0-1 and 16 that are 1-0. And the group of teams that are going to be 0-1 once the season is concluded tonight, when this week is concluded tonight, rather, guess what? They don't want to fall to 0-2 because guess what? The more you lose to begin the season, obviously, the less percentage you have as far as having an opportunity to get to the postseason. So the Giants, obviously, they want to get back on track, but they've got to get back to the basics. For the Giants, it was definitely a triple whammy because they lost their first game of the season. They're the only team and the NFC East that lost yesterday. So now they're in the basement. And then on top of that, theoretically, they're now down 2 games to the Dallas Cowboys because this was not just a loss, it was a divisional loss. And the divisional losses always tend to sting a little bit more than the interconference or conference losses. So for Brian Dayball, he's got to try to find a way to get his team back on track. And what we saw from Brian Dayball last year was that, you know what, he's a great motivator of men. And obviously, what you did last year does not necessarily translate to this year. But the Giants, like I said before, they've got to get back to the basics. If you're the Giants, obviously this was a bad loss last night. I'm sure there are plenty of their fans in the New York, New Jersey area that really weren't feeling too hot this morning when they woke up following last night's game. But the best thing that you can say is, you know what? It's one game. It's the first game of the season. You still have 16 more to get that ship righted. And I want to see, for me at least, when the Giants take the field Sunday in Arizona, how are they going to look on the first 2 drives of the game? Their first drive of the game, whether they win the coin toss or not, and offensively that is, and then their first drive of the game defensively, because that's going to let me know whether or not there's a carryover from what happened last night to this team. Let's see how they bounce back. It's still going to be a difficult contest to win due to the fact that, yeah, a lot of people are already writing the Cardinals off this season. But guess what? We saw the Cardinals give the Washington Commanders all that they can handle and then some yesterday. And it's still Arizona's season opener next week. So guess what? Those guys want to show up and show out as well. But nonetheless, if you're the Giants, definitely not the way that you wanted to start your season. But let's see how the Giants are able to bounce back from this when they take on the Bird Gang in the desert come Sunday afternoon. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast. here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 pounds of sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.